Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you were with us last time, we started laying out this huge strategic roadmap.
The golden path to financial independence, the whole three-stage, 13-step framework from Tamir Hacham.
Exactly. And if you've been thinking about that, there's probably a really powerful urge you're feeling right about now.
Oh, I know what it is. The need to get technical.
Yes. The technical impatience.
Yep.
You just want to know, okay, what's the index fund? How do I analyze rental property? What's the latest on the 4% rule? You just want the spreadsheet.
That's it. And, Hacham's foundational argument, which is what we're really diving into today, is why that urge is, well, it's the absolute wrong place to start.
It sets you up for failure.
It really can. The framework insists on what he calls strategic patience.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is the whole point. This quest, it's not really about calculations, is it? It's a psychological shift first.
It has to be. You can't run new financial software on an old operating system. It won't work. And that's our mission today, really, laying that essential foundation.
And it all starts with this one mantra that just flips everything on its head.
Financial independence first, then wealth.
That's the key. That is the distinction where I think most people get completely tripped up. You hear financial freedom, and you immediately picture, yachts and private jets.
8-figure bank accounts, yeah. This massive, almost theatrical image. And that's actually the problem, isn't it?
It is. It makes the goal feel so distant, so unachievable that most people just kind of shrug and give up.
Right. If I can't have the yacht, why bother opening an investment account? The target just feels too big and too vague.
So we have to simplify it. We need a working definition that's not about luxury, but about, security. So what is the precise definition of financial independence we're using?
It's much simpler. And it's purely mathematical. You strip away all the fantasy. Financial independence is when your passive income, the money your assets generate.
Without you working for it.
Without you trading any more time for it, right. When that income reliably covers all of your living expenses. That's it. That's the entire definition.
So we're not talking about being rich. We're talking about being free. Free from dependence on a salary to cover your life.
Exactly. You change this vague dream of being rich into a really concrete goal. I need X amount of passive income every month. The sequence is everything. You have to build that stable base that's independence before you go chasing massive growth, which is wealth.
And people can have one without the other.
Absolutely. You can have a huge income but be completely dependent, the classic golden handcuffs. And you can be financially independent without ever being considered rich by society. The goal is choice.
Which brings us right to stage one of the golden path, building foundational consciousness and financial identity. So why does this identity shift have to come before any practical steps? Why can't I just start saving like crazy right now?
It's because without that psychological anchor, everything you do later, saving, budgeting, investing, it'll probably fail. Or you'll just revert back to your old habits.
It's like a crash diet.
That's the perfect analogy. You can lose the weight, sure, but if you haven't fundamentally changed your identity around food and health, you're almost guaranteed to gain it all back.
Right. So I might, buy an index fund, but if I'm still running that employee operating system the second the market drops, my gut reaction is to panic and sell.
Because your identity sees that money as temporary, something to be protected at all costs, not capital to be deployed. That's the default belief system for so many of us, especially salaried professionals. Money comes from trading time, period.
Let's use Hatcham's own story here because it's a great example. He was a successful engineer, looked secure from the outside, but he was totally dependent on selling his time.
Yes. And he talks about this moment around age 45, reading a couple of key books, and he has what he calls a profound change in consciousness. He shifted internally from being an employee or a survivor
to being an asset owner, a manager of capital.
And the magic is that this was an internal decision. It happened before the money was really there.
Okay, but I have to push back on that a little. For someone listening who's maybe deep in debt or just living paycheck to paycheck, how do you adopt the identity of an owner when your bank account is screaming that you're a dependent? Doesn't that just feel like, like you're lying to yourself?
That's a great question, and it's vital. It's not about your current bank balance. The identity shift happens before the assets show up. It's about changing your perception and your intent.
So he didn't quit his job?
No, he just consciously decided, okay, I'm done operating as if my time is my only product. From now on, my salary is just my economic anchor. It's the fuel I'm going to use to build other
That
systems.
reframing changes everything. If I'm running the old system, saving money feels painful. It feels like a sacrifice.
It's deprivation, right. But with the owner view, saving isn't a sacrifice anymore. It's just accumulating raw materials for your next project. That money isn't for spending, it's capital,
And investing stops being this terrifying gamble.
and becomes the systematic process of building a portfolio of businesses designed to buy back your time.
Okay, let's make this tangible. Say a listener gets a big, unexpected bonus at work. How do the two mindsets handle that one event?
The employee or survivor mindset sees a windfall. Time to celebrate. Maybe pay off some credit card debt, but more likely,
A bigger TV, a nicer
a
car,
luxury vacation, yeah. The focus is on temporary pleasure, temporary relief.
and the owner, the architect.
The owner sees a sudden injection of raw material. They might take a small piece for a celebration, sure, but the rest is immediately earmarked as capital. The question isn't what can I buy, it's which system can this capital build or accelerate. The intent is totally different.
Is the money for consumption, or is it for building the freedom machine?
That's it. You have to maximize your return on identity before you can even think about maximizing your return on investment.
And that's the heart of stage one,
Yeah.
step one. The internal switch is flipped. So once that's set, the next question is pretty obvious. Okay, I want freedom, but how much freedom do I actually need?
And that brings us to stage one, step two, defining the vision and the metric. See, most of us only plan to survive financially, to make it to the end of the month. Financial independence requires you to plan a designed lifestyle.
So moving from this vague dream, I want to be rich, to a real strategic plan, I need to know what my ideal independent life actually costs.
Exactly. And this means you, the listener, have to do some deep thinking. What would you do if you didn't have to trade time for money? Work 3 hours a day on a passion project. Take 2 months off to travel every year. You have to get really detailed with that vision.
And then you basically attach a price tag to that freedom. You turn it into one single measurable number. How does the framework say to do that calculation?
It's a two-phase process. Phase one is just the basics for your desired life. The housing, the bills, the food, transport, the absolute foundation.
The must-haves.
The must-haves. Then, phase two is pricing out those vision elements. The Pilates classes, the family trips, the hobbies. You figure out all those annual costs, and then you boil it all down into one monthly number.
So you end up with a single monthly expense figure that represents the total cost of your freedom.
Yes. And here is the absolutely critical part that ties back to the owner mindset. Once you have that number, let's say it's X, you have to add a mandatory buffer, a 15% to 20% buffer on top of that.
Why is that so important? It sounds simple, but you're saying it's non-negotiable.
It serves two purposes. First, it gives you resilience. That buffer covers the unexpected things that would normally send you into a panic. It's your protective wall. But second, and this is the honor part, it provides capital for continuous reinvestment.
So the buffer isn't just an emergency fund, it's your annual growth budget.
Precisely. An owner doesn't just hit a target and stop. They know their system needs capital to stay healthy, to beat inflation, maybe to acquire new assets. If you only plan to cover your expenses, you're planning for stagnation. The buffer ensures growth.
So that final number, let's say it's, 22,000 shekels a month in passive income. That transforms the fantasy into a clear, tactical objective.
That's the power of specificity. That number becomes your compass for every single decision you make from then on. If an action doesn't get you closer to generating that 22,000 passively, it's just a distraction. That clarity is the precondition for everything that comes next.
Okay, so to sum up stage one, it doesn't start with a spreadsheet. It starts in your head. It's the decision to go from being an economic dependent to an economic architect.
And that psychological shift has to lead to a clear, measurable, buffered target. Without that anchor and that compass, everything else is just built on shifting sand.
Right. So we've laid out the sequence. Identity and metric in stage one, which sets the foundation. Then comes resilience in stage two, and finally growth in stage three.
Hackham's own story shows he had to look at his deepest beliefs about work and security and realize they were just leftovers from his old life as an employee.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Now that you have this idea of the owner or architect identity, what happens if you start looking at every single financial decision you make, every purchase, every chance to save, and you look at it strictly through that new lens, the lens of a long-term owner of assets?
What changes?
That foundational consciousness is now set. Next time, in our next deep dive, we're going to get practical. We'll move into stage 2, building genuine financial resilience. We'll get into the specifics of financial mapping, conscious budgeting, and protecting your system.
We look forward to diving deeper with you then.